70 residents of the Attawapiskat First Nation in Northern Ontario are on their way to Kapuskasing this hour. They've been flown out after a trailer fire that led to a state of emergency in their remote community. The trailers were donated by a local mining company after a previous housing crisis caused by a large sewage spill. But they're construction trailers not designed for long-term housing. The community has been in the news for several years because of its financial and social problems which need long-term solutions. New Democrat Charlie Angus is the MP for the riding. He says the trailers were always a temporary fix.
People have been living in these trailers. So they look like long, narrow hallways with basically holding cells where young families are living. There's about 4 toilets, a couple of showers, and 1 kitchen facility for 80 to 90 people. And unfortunately, power was knocked out earlier this week from a huge storm that knocked out power in the community. Again, substandard infrastructure. And people were trying to stay warm and had candles. Fortunately, nobody was hurt because that would have been a real catastrophe for our community. What I've been told by Chief Teresa Spence and various councillors and people I know on the ground, it seems to be the candle. I'm sure there's going to still be an investigation, but it appears that this was the domino effect of the storm hitting the power system, people losing power, losing heat, losing lights, and then the families trying to stay warm, and someone had left a candle in one of the rooms and it caught fire. We're really pleased that the town of Kapuskasing stood up so quickly and offered help. I know their teams on the ground are going to be excellent. The problem for the community, being evacuated causes a lot of trauma. Young children, there's some pregnant mothers, I understand, some elderly people who get dislocated from their families. They don't know how long they're going to be away. It is relatively nearby in Northern Ontario terms, but in probably the rest of Canada it would seem like a very, very, very far distance because there's no road connecting the community. People don't know how long they're going to be out. So I know there's some trepidation from some families on the ground who don't want to leave their community, even though they have no place to go. But we're hoping to have the flights going out this afternoon. It's not just Attawapiskat. All across Northern Canada, we have huge backlogs of housing, major infrastructure problems. In all my communities in the far north, I've had, the complete collapse of sewage systems, water systems, housing crisis. And it's always the Band-Aid solution. So in 2011, we almost had to, it seemed like we were going to war with the government just to get 22 trailers moved up to get people out of tents. That's not, considering what Canada can do around the world, that isn't a huge request. But the real issue is long-term housing. There are, contrary to what people might think, there's a lot of people working in Attawapiskat. We've got people working at the diamond mine, people working on the winter roads, and people are willing to pay rent, people are willing to get mortgages, but things move so slow through the federal government, through Indian Affairs, that this chronic backlog just gets worse and worse every year.